I think many of us want to understand a little better about why we suffer. In particular, the trials that we are bearing today. And there are many, they are many, and will probably increase. And it's always been a great mystery to mankind why there's evil in the world and why there's suffering. And what I'm about to say now is paraphrasing, not my thoughts, but the thoughts of others. I always do that if it's not originally from me because that would be just simply wrong. It would be plagiarism. Um, but it kind of is a mixture too. I throw in my own reflections on the topic too. But I was given an answer today, and it's for many people. They'll say, "How's that an answer?" Well, that's what you have to meditate on and reflect on to understand why is there evil in the world? Why is there so much suffering in the world? And God never does give a direct answer. What he gives you is, quote, himself. Himself. What do I mean by that? From the very beginning, from the Old Testament, Job, for example, was confused as to why so much affliction had come upon him because he was a righteous man and he was doing the work of the Lord. And as we know from the end of the book of Job, he was very, very much compensated for his suffering. But that still was not the answer to his question when he wanted to understand why this had come upon him. What our Lord did, what the Father in heaven did, was tell him all the things that he does. And when we are experiencing suffering now and carrying our cross, which we are called to do, we have to understand that the answer to suffering is God, God the Son himself. Because there is nothing we will suffer in our entire lives, even if we suffered excruciating pain every day of our life, that can compare to the suffering our Lord went through during his lifetime. Not just at the Passion, but daily, as he knew what was coming. Excuse me. There's absolutely no amount of suffering that we endure that can compare. But see, that's the whole beauty of it, the whole mystery of it, that the Son of God, God himself, endured for us what we could never even conceive of enduring ourselves. The greatest suffering, and this is my belief, that our Lord endured during the Passion was not the wounds in his hands and feet, the crown of thorns, the scourging, but the utter rejection of the children that he had created, spitting on him, mocking him, using abusive language at him, turning against him, rejecting the love, the incredible love that he was trying to give to them. So that's what I mean when I say our suffering, we can never begin to comprehend the suffering he endured because it was spiritual and it was emotional and it was the rejection of the Godhead by his creation. No, we can't comprehend that. But he does it because he gives an answer to our suffering, why we suffer. And it's not a conclusive answer, meaning why does it exist in the first place? But it's an explanation, meaning, well, he's saying to us, no matter what you endured or will endure, this is what I endured for you out of love. So this is my connection. Suffering is intrinsically related to love. Do you not suffer when your loved ones suffer? Do you not suffer especially when your children are suffering as a parent? Um, do you not suffer when your parents are suffering, your siblings, when they're sick or when they're going through ordeals and you can't even help them? See, I believe the greatest suffering is what we suffer for others. You know, when we see their misery and we cannot help them, or we can only maybe offer some suggestions or a few words of consolation. And I'm telling you, he's trying to stop me from making this video. Woo! Because this is an important one. I know it is. I just know it is. And not because of me, because of what I'm trying to express, what is kind of universal wisdom, knowledge. But he loved us so much that he wanted to show us how deeply he loved us through his suffering, for his complete sacrifice for us, but also that he shares in our suffering, in our humanity, in every way imaginable except sin. And even then he knew temptation. Imagine the terrible temptations he knew, especially the 40 days that he spent in the desert, but all through his life. It had no effect on him, of course, but he could not sin. It was impossible. But he endured temptation. He endured everything we endure. And he did it out of love and to show us that nothing we can suffer can compare to what he would suffer for us. So we, in return, have to suffer for him without murmuring, without question. And it's not easy. And we need to take up our cross daily and follow him. And I believe in the end you will see very clearly on the other side the sublime beauty of this seeming contradiction, that suffering is indeed the greatest expression of love, because you're giving your pain and your agony to him in return for what he did for you. You offer it and you say, okay, I will carry my cross for love of you, Jesus. I mean, it doesn't take much to understand how beautiful and sublime that is. So what is the answer to suffering? As I said in the beginning, there isn't a clear answer. It's a greater answer by God saying he gives himself.